Okay, here we go. Well, we're going to talk about the Jaguars game with Cleveland. It was a disappointing home opener for the fans. There's no doubt about that. There was a lot of pushing and shoving amongst the players early in the game, so you knew it was going to be physical, and it was. We're going to pull up the stats. Jaguars lost to Miami game one. Miami Dolphins, I believe, 20, Jaguars 17 in game one. Game two, more of the same, but even a slower start for the Jaguars offense. They did some good things on offense, but not enough. The points are not going up. Jaguars field goal kicker, Cam Little, the rookie, did miss a kick in this game, but he was good on his other kicks. And the Jaguars lose it 18-13. I got that on the scroll. Jaguars lose game two to Cleveland after losing to Miami at Miami. This was a home opener. Cleveland Browns 18, the Jacksonville Jaguars 13, a final on Sunday, September the 15th of 2024. And no matter how you slice it, the Jaguars are 0-2. Well, I think I'm pretty good at consuming football games. And this is no different. I mean, I've seen agonizing games. What's the old term we used? It was a gut wrenching loss. However, and you might remember in our podcast, the Teal Shirt Report podcast, if this makes you feel any better, I don't feel any worse about the Jaguars now as I did, since during the draft. I really don't. I looked at the schedule. I said, man, the Jags could start out 1-2. They could start out 0-3, but 1-2 was kind of my guess that they'd win one of these three. Now, to win one of these three now to open the season, you got to win on Monday Night Football in Buffalo against really a hot Buffalo Bills team. They're a good team. Buffalo's got one of the top, 3, 4, 5 quarterbacks in the league. He's a top 5 quarterback in Josh Buffalo Allen. The Jaguars have Josh Hines Allen. Is that his name? Josh Hines Allen, right? Now, we're going to take a look at the stats. I took some notes, and, that's how I said, there was some pushing and shoving to start play. I saw number 24 make a good play for the Jaguars. I'll have to identify him a little bit later. I don't know all the players with all the numbers. I know most of them. There was some good tackling at times. Roy Robertson Harris made a really good tackle early on in the game. And I think the Jaguars defense is okay. They're better than okay. I think the new defensive coordinator is doing a good job. They give up 20 points in the first game. And then you say, well, they gave up 18 points in this game. Well, they did, but not really. There was a safety on Trevor Lawrence, which accounted for 2 points. So the Jaguars defense really only gave up 16 points. When you can hold a team in the NFL to 20 points or less, and in this case less, you should win the game. The problems are really kind of starting to stem from the offense, in my opinion. I saw ETN made some good runs. Christian Kirk had a pass catch called back. I'm not even sure Christian Kirk made an official catch in the game. I know he had a chance at another one late, didn't get it. I will tell you this. I believe wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr. is going to get better, and he's pretty good right now. I think they just got to get the football to him more often because I just don't think he's getting enough targets early on, but I think he's got a chance to be really a good quarterback. There were people scratching their heads during the game because I got the messages, the Facebook messages from different ones that said, man, what's going on with the play calling? Well, there was a time in the game I'm thinking, man, we're not throwing the ball over the top or down the field And there was some of that. And then the pass plays came back later. Trevor, hit a long pass play, and the Jaguars seemed to at times get untracked offensively. Cleveland had a good defense. They got one of the top defenses in the league. If you play fantasy football, when it came time to picking those defenses, Cleveland was in the top 10. Who else was up there? The 49ers, even the Saints defense. But the Cleveland Browns defense is in the top 5 in the league. And that's what the Jaguars offense was going up against. They really were. Jaguars lose to the Cleveland Browns at home. Cleveland Browns 18, the Jacksonville Jaguars 13. And it's really so close. You're just one big play away from winning the football game. You lose by 5 points. We do know, because we told you on the last podcast, that the Jacksonville Jaguars were a 3-point favorite. And that was more or less, most people would probably say that was more for the home field. And that's probably true. College football from Saturday, everybody's still getting over, Florida Gator fans still getting over losing to Texas A&M. Texas A&M 33, Florida 20 final. Memphis 20, FSU 12. Where Florida State has fallen off the map at 0-3. Florida's 1-2. I talked to Mad Max, our Georgia Bulldog football insider, and he knows Kentucky had Georgia on the ropes, and Georgia almost went down, because I talked to Max about this. Georgia did end up winning the game, and good teams do that. They find a way to win at the end. Georgia 13, Kentucky 12 a final. Alabama's got too much speed for Wisconsin, and it surprised me. Coach DeBoer did a good job in that game preparing his team, and I think Alabama had too much speed for Wisconsin. Alabama 42, Wisconsin 10 a final on Saturday, September the 14th. Now, there's other college football games. One game I did see that one game I saw that intrigued me was Indiana blowing out UCLA. I'm not saying UCLA has a good football team by any means, but Indiana blew them out. Indiana's got a new coach, and I think you better keep an eye on them as being a Cinderella out of the Big Ten. We know who the good teams are. We know Michigan beat Arkansas State by 10 points. Michigan, not the team they were last year when they won the national championship. Jim Harbaugh's gone. A lot of those players are gone from last year's team. Without a doubt, Ohio State is above everybody in the Big Ten, including Wisconsin. Wisconsin they got roasted by Alabama. They got taken back behind the woodshed, as Ketchup would say. Who's Ketchup? Well, some people know. Mr. Ketchup. Mr. Ketchup had a birthday the other day, I was told. I understand he also, we did send prayers out to Ketchup, because I believe he did undergo a procedure, and I hear he's doing better at last report. So Ketchup, hello to you. We're brought to you by Saucer Realty and Capital for your real estate needs in North Florida, whether it's home, residential, business, or commercial real estate. You'll find a link for Saucer Realty and Capital on our homepage at bigjreport.com. I want to thank Mad Max, who's also a Georgia Bulldog insider for us. Georgia undefeated 3-0. Undefeated 3-0. You take Florida and FSU, they got one win between them, and that's Florida. And Florida's coach is probably going to get fired this week or next week. Latest I heard on that was Napier. There's going to be some kind of meeting of the minds, or the hobnobs. The Florida Gator, is the athletic director gone too after making the hire of Billy Napier, 7-year contract, and now they're talking about firing him, and he's just in the very early part of the third season for Coach Billy Napier. The Gators 1-2. Is the fan base at Florida, they're just unrealistic right now of what's going on in college football? Well, that may be true, but what I saw in the Texas A&M Florida game was Texas A&M wanted the game more. They were jacked up, even played a backup quarterback, and they got out in front to a 20-0 lead. And as Coach Napier's running off the field, and Florida's losing 20-0 at home at Florida Field in the Swamp, Steve Spurrier Stadium, and all that, they're losing to Texas A&M 20-0 at home at halftime. They're booing Napier off the field. I heard somebody yell BS, maybe a few people yell BS at, toward the end of that little video I saw, but they were clearly booing the Gators, and especially one head coach, Brother Billy Napier. So when will he go? We'll look up some info on it this morning and see what it looks like. Jaguars lose 18-13. We'll take a look at the stats. By the way, college football, go to our website, scroll the sports section. We've got most of the scores I'm talking about up there and a few more. Georgia Tech dispatched to VMI. Georgia Tech's won a couple of games. Looks like they're going to have a decent season. Georgia's undefeated. Florida's 1-2. FSU's 0-3. And we're not talking about losing to Clemson. We're talking about losing to Georgia Tech by 3 points. They got beat by 2 touchdowns by Boston, an improved Boston College team. And now Florida State loses in Tallahassee to mid-major Memphis by 8 points, 20-12. So that's some of what's going on in college football. Let's pick up the stats of this Jaguars game. Cleveland scored a touchdown in the first quarter, got off to a 7-0 lead. They kicked a field goal in the second quarter, and then the Jags added a Cam Little field goal. It was 10-3, but then Cleveland matched it. Cleveland had a 13-3 lead at halftime. Cleveland kicked another field goal. It was 16-3. Jaguars came back with a touchdown, got within 16-10. Jags kicked another field goal, got within 3 points, and then Cleveland got a safety on Trevor Lawrence in the last 2 or 3 minutes of the game. Jags got a chance to get the ball back one more time. The Jags defense played a good game. Deshaun Watson played good early, despite all the personal tribulations and problems he's had, with a lot of things. I'm not going to go into all of it now. You know what it is. But I'm going to say this. He played very good in the first half. He seemed like his head wasn't in the game late in the game, but the Jaguars defense was playing pretty good. They were actually playing pretty good. Let me see if I can pull up some stats from this game. The start for Trevor was not very good throwing the football in this particular game. Okay. Deshaun Watson, a 1-yard run to start the scoring. Kind of sounds like a boring game, doesn't it? When the Deshaun Watson run, a 1-yard plunge by Deshaun Watson. Dustin Hopkins, I believe, is their field goal kicker. He kicked a 53-yard field goal, and Cleveland got off to a 10-0 start and a 10-0 lead. Cam Little added a short 22-yard field goal, and then you could say, well, the Jags should have scored a touchdown there. Dustin Hopkins was pretty good with a 38-yard field goal for Cleveland. Hopkins hit another field goal in the third quarter. Travis Etienne Jr., give the guy credit. He did have a 4-yard touchdown run. Cam Little kicked the extra point. Cam Little missed a kick, but then he also kicked a 25-yard field goal in the fourth quarter. Then the scoring ended with Trevor Lawrence being sacked in the end zone by Alex Wright for safety. That made the score 18-13, and that was with 1 minute and 44 seconds to go, I believe, in the game. And then the Jags still get the ball back because, Deshaun Watson's throwing an incomplete pass. Jags ran out of timeouts. That kind of hurt him toward the tail end of all this. Take a look at Trevor Lawrence's day. It was not good. It was looking at this. Let me see here. Let me take a look. Trevor Lawrence was 14 out of 30 for about 220 yards. Those are probably average stats back in the 1970s when you had bump and run coverage on the wide receivers. That was not a good day. He was 14 out of 30, 220 yards. And, Deshaun Watson appeared to have a good day, but his day was not that much better. 22 of 34. And Trevor even had more yardage than Deshaun. Deshaun Watson didn't even throw for 200 yards. He had, what I'm looking at here, Deshaun Watson, looked like Deshaun Watson had like 186 yards passing. Wow. Travis Etienne Jr., 13 carries, 52 yards, and a touchdown. Jay Ford for Cleveland, 7 carries for about 64 yards. And again, Deshaun Watson's day, 22 of 34 for, it looks like about 186 yards. Brother Judy, Jerry Judy, 5 receptions, 73 yards. Brian Thomas Jr., they got to get him the ball more often. 2 receptions, 94 yards. You got to get more targets to Brian Thomas Jr. So those are some of the stats in the game. Interesting. Ball control. I think time of possession was a key. And you got to take your hats off to the Jaguars defense. I mean, Cleveland had the ball for 34 minutes and 23 seconds of the game. The Jaguars were 25 minutes and 37 seconds of the game. So that's kind of what we saw. So those are some stats from the game. I wasn't really, the stats I pulled up, I wasn't really that excited about the way they looked. I'm having to squint to read some of that stuff. Let me see. Okay, Jerry Judy. Okay, so let's pull up some stats. Jaguars, the big stat was Cleveland won the game 18, right? Cleveland Browns 18, Jaguars 13. And let's take a look. More stats. Okay, I can see these a little bit better. I don't know. That it depends on the print sometimes, the way these stats come out. Deshaun Watson, 22 of 34, 186 yards passing. That's not a great day. He's not a great day at all. Deshaun Watson, I mean, early in the game, he looked pretty good. If you can get first downs, you can win in the NFL. Deshaun Watson's a guy that has had his issues, his suspensions from football, and he got a big contract, and I think they reworked it. And I don't know, man. He's, for a guy that's making all the money he's making, and the same thing could be said for Trevor Lawrence. But then again, both of these defenses are pretty good. Cleveland's defense may be better than the Jags right now, slightly, but the Jags defense was getting after it. I don't think Trayvon Walker, I don't think he had the best game. I think he was being blocked out there. I think the Browns were blocking him. I think another thing, the Jacksonville Jaguars in the 2025 draft, they got to find him a guard. They got to really find a good guard. And I don't care where they draft in the first round. Hopefully it'll be late because the Jaguars will have had, a much better rest of the season than the 0-2 start. And that way they're drafting, with the playoff teams in the 20s somewhere. And if you're drafting in the teens or the 20s, you got to get a guard. They need more help up front with the offensive line. I think they're going to need another left tackle and a guard in the next draft. Okay, so again, we take a look at Deshaun Watson. His stats were not the greatest. 22 of 34, 186 yards, no touchdowns. But probably a key stat for Deshaun Watson was he did not throw an interception. Trevor Lawrence, on the other hand, 14 completions out of 30 attempts. My friends, that's under 50%. That's not a good day. Travis Etienne, 13 carries, 52 yards, and a touchdown for the Jaguars, and then they kicked 2 field goals. That basically was the extent of the offense. It was. There were some guys on defense for the Jaguars that played decent games. I saw Chad Muma on a really good tackle. I believe that was on special teams play. A lot of pushing and shoving, as I mentioned early in the game. Number 24 made a good play for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'll try to pull up who that is in a moment. I saw Roy Robertson Harris made a very good tackle early in the game. And it's just a shame to lose a football game, 18-13. It's one of those gut-wrenching, agonizing games, kind of like when Coach Gus Bradley was coaching the team. just agonizing losses where both teams are scoring in the teens, and the Browns win at 18-13. I'm going to attempt to pull up the stats. Well, I got the stats up. We're going to pull up the roster, I believe. Jacksonville Jaguars, number 24. I saw him making some plays out there. He played pretty good. I'm going to tell you, Antonio Johnson was getting after it too. AJ, as I call him. Jaguars lose to the Brownies. Cleveland Browns 1-1. The Jaguars are 0-2. Browns win at 18-13. And let me see if I could pull up the. There's always something here. Let me see if I could pull up the Jaguars roster. Game 3 will be Buffalo on Monday night. Monday Night Football in Buffalo. 1 week from today, as we record this podcast on Monday, of course. Again, the offense, just a subpar performance. I mean, you heard Trevor Lawrence's stats, 14 out of 30. That kind of says it all. He's under 50%. How often do you see a quarterback nowadays, with the way the rules are, throwing the ball under 50%? And he just got a huge contract. Somebody on social media said, well, Tyson Campbell, hurt his hamstring or, whatever the injury is completely now. And, but we paid him. We shouldn't have paid him. Well, no, you should have paid him. He's a good football player. You didn't know he'd get hurt again. He was hurt last year. He missed about 5 or 6 games last year. So the Jaguars have paid a lot of players, and the defense still played pretty good, even though Tyson Campbell was not out there. So let's attempt to pull up the Jaguars roster. My goodness, why does it take so long to get the roster up? Why? Why does it take so long to get the Jaguars roster up? Can't find it. Okay. So I'm just throwing some names out there on defense that I think played pretty good. I saw Josh Hines-Allen getting after it on a couple of plays. I'm sure he played hard throughout the entire game. You're tuned in to the Teal Shirt Report podcast. We're brought to you by madmaxmix.weebly.com. Lake Eufaula Hits and JC's Thursday night live from the pub show at lakeeufaulahits.com. Great internet radio where it's absolutely all good. So here's where we are. Jaguars lose to Cleveland 18-13. Trying to identify some players. Number 24 with the Jaguars, right? Let me see if I can find him here in a minute. The Jumbo Shrimp lost on Saturday. I don't think they played Sunday. What's interesting to me is AAA baseball is different than, say, Class A or Double A. Back in the day when the Jacksonville Suns were playing in Double A most every year, the season always ended in late August, about August 30th, August 31st. With this AAA baseball, I'm looking at a radar right now. There's a little bit of rain still out there. Rain chance, though, is diminished to 30% here in Jacksonville on Monday, September the 16th. I want to wish my mother a happy birthday. Happy birthday to Mom. I saw Mom last night. We took her an egg custard pie from the deli at one of the major grocery stores. Egg custard pie, and Mom got a birthday card, and I think she had a pretty good day. I was over there the day before the birthday, actually. Okay. AAA baseball, the latest game for the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, a tough one on the road. Charlotte Knights 10, Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp 0. That was the final score on Saturday, September the 14th of 2024. The Jumbo Shrimp have been on the road for close to 2 weeks, so they missed all this rain. And if they'd have been here, the games would have been rained out, probably half of them or more, if they'd have been playing in downtown Jacksonville. But the latest game for the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, a tough one on the road. The Charlotte Knights 10, the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp nothing. Final score on Saturday, September the 14th of 2024. in the Twitter account. I did not put their record up. They are the Jumbo Shrimp are now 68-74. They're just not gonna make it to that 500 mark. The Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp 68-74 here on September the 16th. What about this line score? Charlotte 10 runs, 10 hits, no errors. Again, the Charlotte Knights 10 runs, 10 hits, no errors. But Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, no runs, 2 hits, and no errors. And Shiraka was the pitcher of record for Charlotte. He's now 3-0. You know what his ERA is? 0.00 for the season. He's 3-0. So apparently he's been with Charlotte for just a short time. But he's got a 0 ERA, and he pitched his shutout against the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. Charlotte 10, Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp absolutely nothing. That was on Saturday, September the 14th. Talking about the Jaguars losing, well, they've lost 2 in a row. The problems are apparently on offense. They're 0-2, but now let's talk about some good things. Boy, when you're a Florida fan, not too many good things. When you're a Jags fan, not too many good things, other than I really thought the Jaguars would start out about 1-2. They're 0-2 now. They got a chance to get that win in Buffalo. They're making it hard for themselves because really I think the feeling was we'd probably lose to Miami, beat Cleveland, and lose to Buffalo and start out 1-2. So now they got to go the other direction. It would not surprise me to see Trevor have a really good game. But Buffalo's got a good defense. They've got a really good defense. So it's another good defense. Miami's defense was pretty good. Cleveland's defense was even better than Miami's. Buffalo's got a good defense, and Buffalo's got a very, very good quarterback. He'll definitely test the Jags defense. So I saw number 24 flying around for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I did. I saw him flying around. Jacksonville Jaguars, number 24. John Gaylor saying, well, I know who he is. Okay. And like I say, Trayvon Walker, he was hustling, but he was getting blocked. That is my opinion. Trayvon's capable of playing a lot better than he played. However, the defense only gave up. Again, the defense gave up 16 points. 2 of those points was a safety. Cleveland 18, the Jacksonville Jaguars 13. So you can't really, you can't really complain that much about the defense. Deshaun Watson's stats were not that great either. I think one glaring good stat for Deshaun Watson is he did not throw an interception in the football game. I saw Monteric Brown, known as Buster Brown, filling in at cornerback, and I'm going to say this. I think he played pretty good. I'm kind of happy the Jaguars drafted him. Eric Armstead was getting after it in the game. Tank Bigsby seemed like he got hurt early in the game. The backup running back for the Jaguars, Logan Cook, again, a pretty good game punting the football. And let me see if I can pull up this number 24. I got the numbers. I finally got the numbers. Logan Cook is number 9, as you know. Number nine. Let me see. Let me see if I can pull up number 24. They got everybody alphabetized. They don't have them by. I wish they did a numerical roster. I really do. It'd be so much easier. But they got everybody alphabetized. So you can go one way or the other. Number 22, Jerrion Jones. I saw him out there. Jerrion got excited one time because he broke up a pass. And I said, Jerrion, why didn't you intercept the ball? The ball was loose. You could have grabbed it. But the Jags just didn't get that critical turnover. I don't think the Jags have really gotten any turnovers the first 2 weeks? That's part of the issues too. Maybe not getting the ample turnovers, but overall, when you think about it, if you're not getting the turnovers and you're still giving up 20 points or less, you're doing pretty good overall as a defense. Okay, so I'm looking for number 24. Jaguars got some players injured. Andrew Wingert, still on injured reserve. Kellen Robinson, the running back, on injured reserve. He's more of a backup. I think he's the guy the Jaguars just picked up this year. Tyson Campbell, now wearing number 3, cornerback, was injured. Deshaun Dixon injured. David White Jr. injured. So really, the injuries were really at a minimum. Tyson Campbell is out. He may be out for a few games. Going back down the roster, let me see. I'm still looking for 24 as we talk here on the podcast. It's just amazing to me that I cannot find this number 24. I'm still not finding him. I'll have to ask John Gaylor, who wears number 24 for the Jaguars, unless I was seeing things yesterday. It looked like he played pretty good. I'll send a message to John Gaylor and get the information to me. So in synopsis, Jaguars defense playing pretty good football. And Brian Thomas Jr. appears to be a bright spot on offense. Running back number 1, Travis Etienne, seems to be playing his heart out, and he's had a couple of touchdowns in the first 2 games. He had the difficult fumble against Miami, which was more of a play that the defenders made. Got the fat part of the ball and hit the ball with a lot of force. The rules keep changing. The touchback used to come out to the 20s and the 25, now 30. So you got rule changes. I'm not so sure I'm excited about that. But in the Cleveland Jags game, there weren't that many points. Cleveland Browns 18, the Jaguars 13. Does this mean 2 good defenses faced off against each other, or are these teams just not that good offensively? I think there was 2 good defensive teams playing on Sunday at Everbank Stadium. That'd be kind of my synopsis of it. Jaguars lose on Sunday, September the 15th. Take a look at some concerts for North Florida. Jumbo Shrimp lose. We gave you that score from Saturday. I think that's the last game the latest game they played, I should say. Basically, AAA baseball goes through like the end of September, not like AA and some of the other levels. Take a look at some concerts. Maybe I'll hear back from John Gaylor on this number 24, because I couldn't have been seeing things. I remember there was a name attached to number 24. Antonio Johnson, the safety, was in there playing hard for the Jaguars as well. I really like AJ, second-year guy out of Texas A&M. Texas A&M beat Florida 33-20 on Saturday night, September the 14th in Gainesville. That might have been Coach Billy Napier's final game. Will they let him go to Starkville? There's meetings this week. We'll see what happens. Take a look at some of the latest concerts, North Florida Entertainment. Let's pull it up. Okay, here we go. Some shows coming up. Hootie and the Blowfish on September the 27th. That's actually the next show we've got on our concert listings in the Neighbors 2 section at bigjreport.com. Hootie and the Blowfish on Friday evening, September the 27th of 2024 at 7 o'clock p.m. at the ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena here in Jacksonville, Florida. KC and the Sunshine Band performing at the Florida Theater on East Forsyth Street here in Jacksonville, Florida on October the 11th of 2024 at 7:30 p.m. Also, Men at Work from Who Can It Be Now? Who Can It Be Now fame. That was one of their bigger hits. They had a lot of songs, though, in the 80s. They really did. A lot of big hits, a lot of top 10 hits. Men at Work, the music group Men at Work, coming to Jacksonville in just a few weeks now on October the 16th of 2024 at 7 o'clock p.m. at the Florida Theater. Here's a hidden gem, Lou Gramm. I've done a lot of research and watched some YouTube videos of Lou Gramm, and he definitely had a falling out with Foreigner and Mick Jones, but he was a long-time member of the group Foreigner. Lou Gramm performing soon in Mount Dora, Florida. That's Lou Graham of Foreigner fame. Graham spent many years with the group Foreigner. Lou Graham performing soon at the Mount Dora, Florida Community Building. Mount Dora, Florida is located just a little northwest of Orlando. The Lou Graham Show is scheduled for Friday evening, October the 25th of 2024 at 7 o'clock p.m. And, Lou Graham, not only was he a part of Foreigner and all their great hits, but, he did that song Midnight Blue, which is a solo record for Lou Graham many, many years ago, too. So this guy's been a part of some big rock hits over the years. This Lou Graham Show is scheduled for Friday evening, October the 25th of 2024 at 7 o'clock p.m. Night Ranger will be performing in Orange Park, Florida. That's Night Ranger. Their biggest song, their biggest hit was probably Sister Christian. Great guitar players in this group. I've seen them before in concert. Night Ranger will be performing in Orange Park, Florida at the Thrasher Horn Center in Orange Park on Saturday evening, October the 26th of 2024 at 7:30 p.m. It's true. I've seen Night Ranger. I saw him at the Florida Theater. I've never been to a show at the Thrasher Horn Center in Orange Park, but it's located near the Duval Clay County border. It's located over in Clay County in Orange Park. Again, Night Ranger will be performing. Night Ranger will be performing in Orange Park, Florida at the Thrasher Horn Center in Orange Park on Saturday, October the 26th of 2024 at 7:30 p.m. We're still going on strong. This is the Teal Shirt Report podcast, episode show number. Oh, I heard back from John Gaylor, DeAndre Prince. Okay. Okay, DeAndre Prince. I did get a name. It doesn't surprise me. I couldn't remember the guy or couldn't find him because he's a newer player. I'm not as familiar with him. But number 24 was around the football. I'll say that. He was playing hard. He was around the football. I saw AJ Antonio Johnson out there playing. Josh Hines Allen was getting after it. Trayvon Walker was playing hard, but he was getting blocked a good bit on Sunday. Jaguars have got to find some guys that can block the defenders. They got to go into the draft and get a guard and maybe another left tackle. Because I think Cam Robinson's going to be getting toward the end of his contract. And I think Cam was whipping a little bit, a couple plays. Didn't look like Cam was doing much of anything. I'm not trying to talk bad about Cam because the Jaguars have won a lot of football games from last year when he was in the lineup. The Jaguars definitely need a big-time guard in the 2025 draft and probably a left tackle too. They can always move Anton Harrison from right tackle to left tackle if they can keep him healthy. The offensive line, they've got to improve. And Trevor has got to improve his play. John Gaylor sending me a message back about DeAndre Prince. I see Mr. Gaylor typing, so I'll see if I get a message from him here in a minute. I was trying to find out who number 24 was because I saw him in the lineup. And he was moving around near the ball. I like to see guys around the ball on defense. So short. Oh, my goodness. John Gaylor sent me something. Should I mention this, John? I think I will. John Gaylor's of the opinion the Texans might have the division wrapped up by Thanksgiving. How about those apples? Well, that's a little. They got some receivers. They got a guy named Stroud playing quarterback. He's got a quick release, gets rid of the ball quick. And the Texans are a team the Jaguars will play in game 4. So they've still got that game out there in front of them. I'm going to tell you right now, that Texans game, that's game 4. And I wasn't really actually looking at that game yet, but that game 4, that's probably going to be a must win for the Jaguars. So there we go. I'm glad we found out who number 24 was. DeAndre Prince. Maybe I should look up DeAndre Prince. But Cleveland's got a tough defense. I will say this, Mr. Gaylor, I hope he's not throwing in the towel on the season. You can't do that after game 2. You can't do that. DeAndre Prince was born October 12th of 2000, an American professional football cornerback for the Jacksonville Jaguars. DeAndre Prince is only 23 years of age. DeAndre, and I know his middle name, DeAndre Antoine Prince. DeAndre Antoine Prince is an American professional football cornerback for the Jacksonville Jaguars of the National Football League. He was born in October of 2000 in Mississippi. 6 foot. He's 6 foot tall. Played at Charleston High School, I'm assuming in Mississippi. So DeAndre Prince, he was playing some football yesterday. He was around the football. Let's take a look at the guy. He was drafted in 2024, round 5. Okay. He was part of the Jaguars draft. He's part of the 2024 draft, round 5. The Jags did draft a lot of people. He was one of them. Played his college ball at Ole Miss and Northeast Mississippi. He played at Northeast Mississippi Community College and went to Ole Miss in 2019. Looks like he did the reverse. He went to Ole Miss in 2019, then went to Northeast Mississippi Community College in 2020. Back to Ole Miss 2021 through 2023. So he played a lot of college ball from 2019 to 2023. Drafted by the Jaguars in round 5. He was out there playing hard, and I was seeing number 24 around the football. And obviously, with Tyson Campbell being out, we saw some new players playing cornerback. And again, that is his position, number 24, DeAndre Prince. So John Gaylor a little bit down on the team right now. John Gaylor says Texans might have the division wrapped up by Thanksgiving. Let's hope not game 4. The Jaguars play the Texans. John says, since we drafted Boselli in 1995, we haven't drafted another Pro Bowler on the offensive line. So I've already hit on this. Gaylor is probably right on. There's been some good offensive linemen drafted. But he's right about that. Tony Boselli's in the Hall of Fame, and that's the best offensive lineman the Jaguars have ever had. Now, I'm going to say this. There's been some guys that have slipped through the Jaguars' fingers. My executive producer knows there was a player out of Alabama that he said, man, the Jaguars should draft this guy. And you know who drafted him? The Eagles. The Eagles have had really a good legacy of drafting some very good offensive linemen, guards, tackles, etc. So, John, thank you for the messages. Your messages ended up on our podcast, the Teal Shirt Report podcast. We'll make this episode show number 50B. We're moving along on the podcast. I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up, put a lid on things. I want to thank our executive producer, JC. Also, I want to thank Alex Nunnery. Alex is all upset. Alex wants the Florida Gators to hire Lane Kiffin, I believe. All the Gator fans are upset, and they should be, with good reason. The Gators have lost 2 games. They got smoked by Texas A&M 33-20 on Saturday, September the 14th. There's changes coming in Gainesville. My executive producer knew it was coming. He said it's probably going to come quick this year. And I said, well, if he wins 7 games, he can probably stay. But now it's not looking like he's going to win 7 games, not when he's lost 2 out of the first 3, is what it looks like to me. Do they let Billy Napier coach in Gainesville? I tell you what, we'll talk. Will they let him coach at Mississippi State in the next game? He could be gone before that game. As I was told, he might not make it to Starkville. That's going to do it for the Teal Shirt Report podcast this time around. You guys have a great day. We'll examine Coach Billy Napier. We might be talking about a firing on the next podcast. That's going to do it. Jaguars lose to Cleveland Cleveland Brownies 18, the Jacksonville Jaguars 13. That's going to do it for the Teal Shirt Report podcast, episode show number 50B. We'll put the end stamp on this episode. We'll be back again with more content real soon. I'm Scott, your host for the Teal Shirt Report podcast. Thank you very, very much. I want to thank our executive producer, JC, another producer, Alex Nunnery, and our contributor and correspondent, John Gaylor, who's definitely helping us out a good bit. John, thanks for all the comments. This has been the Teal Shirt Report podcast. I'm your host, Scott. Hey, have a great day, okay?